I'm glad you are watching this lesson. Teacher Katimbo Richard teaching mathematics P5. Today we are looking at a topic and a new one known as fractions. That is P5 term 1, which fractions will be found on page 100 all the way to 106 bachelor for this lesson. So the coverage will be within that range of the pages 100 to 106. I urge you open and follow as we go along. Now the question is, what is a fraction? A fraction is a part of a whole. As you see, a fraction is a part of a whole. I've got 4 types of fractions. That is proper fractions or common fractions. We've got improper fractions. We've got mixed fractions. And then we've got decimal fractions. The question is, what is a proper or a common fraction? A proper fraction is that has got the upper number called the numerator less than the downer number called the denominator. So the proper fraction is that has got a numerator less than the denominator. Like you see this half, the upper number 1 is less than the downer 2. 2/3 or 2 out of 3, the numerator is less than the denominator. A quarter, the numerator is less than the denominator. And mention others, so long as the numerator is less than the denominator. It should be noted that the upper number for a given fraction is called a numerator and the downer is called a denominator. So this is what we call proper fractions. Then the opposite is improper fractions, where the numerator is greater than the denominator. So an improper fraction is that it has got a numerator greater than the denominator. The upper number is greater than the downer one. So that is what's called improper fraction. You see 11 out of 3, 7 out of 2, 9 out of 4, 8 out of 3, and so on. So those are improper fractions. Then the other type, mixed fractions. A mixed fraction is that has got a combination of a whole and a proper fraction. A whole number and a proper fraction. Like you see 1 and 2/3. This is a whole, this is a proper fraction. That combination makes a mixture of fractions which are termed as mixed fractions. 2 1/2, 3 1/4, 4 and 2/3 mentioned, but a few, please. Those are the ones called mixed fractions. Then the 4th category are decimal fractions. A decimal fraction is that one that contains a decimal point. It has got a point in between. For example, 0.4, 0.12, 0.5, 1.3, 9.2, and so on. All those are decimals or decimal fractions. So in short, I've got 4 types of fractions. That's proper, also called common fractions or vulgar fractions. Improper fractions, the second category, mixed fractions, as well as decimal fractions. And now we are learning how to convert any fraction to another form of fraction. Converting a fraction to another fraction. So, example number 1, tells you to convert 5 out of 4 to a mixed fraction. Convert 5 out of 4 to a mixed fraction. Now, this is an improper fraction to be converted to a mixed fraction. So, should we note that 5 out of 4, this out of shows a division operation. So therefore 5 out of 4 means 5 divided by 4. Now I'm going to divide 5 by 4, 4 by 4 once. Then 5 divided by 4, 1, remainder 1. This first one means a whole, the remainder makes a fraction out of 4. So you get a whole and a quarter. So the answer is 1 and a quarter. 1 and a quarter. A whole and a quarter. So that is 1 and a quarter. So that is from the improper form, that is 5 out of 4, to a mixed form. You divide the numerator by the denominator. Of course, you get a remainder. That remainder makes a fraction out of the denominator. So this quotient becomes a whole, then 1 out of 4. A whole, 1 out of 4. 1 and a quarter. 1 and a quarter. Hence, you have learned how to convert any improper fraction to a mixed one. As we look at the second example, which tells us to convert 1/2 to an improper fraction. It's the other way around. In number 1, we converted improper fraction to a mixed fraction. Now, mixed fraction to improper fraction. It's very easy. We say whole number, a whole number is here, a whole number times denominator plus numerator out of denominator. A whole number times denominator plus numerator out of denominator. So we go like this, in that form, go like that. Whole times denominator plus numerator out of denominator. So we are going to multiply 1 by 4 plus 1 out of 4. 1 times 4 plus 1 out of 4. 1 times 4 plus 1 out of 4. 1 times 4 plus 1 out of 4. That is one. Sorry, we are here. We are dealing with this other one. If we were converting that one, we would still do the same. So we are doing this one. We are then multiplying 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. So this one had been converted. Now we are taking back to another fraction. 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. So that's what is here. 1 times 2, put in brackets, plus 1 out of 2. 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. So where 1 times 2 is a 2. 2 then plus 1 out of 2. Where 2 plus 1 is a 3 out of 2. You get 3 out of 2 or 3 halves if you technically read it so, but you say 3 out of 2 from the mixed fraction to an improper fraction. Remember, improper fraction is said to be so in case the upper number called numerator is greater than the denominator. So that's what we have done. Say it, whole number times denominator plus numerator out of denominator. Whole number times the denominator plus numerator out of the denominator. So we multiply like 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. 1 times 2 plus 1 out of 2. Where 1 times 2 is a 2, then plus 1 out of 2, which is a 3 here out of 2. And that is all. That's the way one converts from mixed fraction to an improper fraction, and from improper to a mixed. And you will be perfect in that way. Let's look at example number 3 today. Example number 3 reads, write a half or 1 out of 2 as a decimal fraction, meaning we are converting a proper fraction or a common fraction to a decimal one, that is the one with a point. So we are going to first interpret. First of all, 1 out of 2 means 1 divided by 2. So in so doing, we are going to write 1 divided by 2, and then remember to use DMSP, that is long division kind of formula. DMSP, divide, multiply, subtract, pull down. Divide, multiply, subtract, pull down. Now we are dividing 1 by 2. 1 divided by 2 is a 0. Write a 0 here, and now we multiply 2 times 0, get a 0. We subtract 1 minus 0, get 1. Now pull down. There was nothing here, put a point, and then put a 0 to pull it down. Pull down 0, and next to 1 to make 10. 10 divided by 2, get 5. Now you multiply 2 by 5, that's 2 times 5, get 10. Then subtract 10 minus 10, you get 0. The moment you get these 2 zeros down, just know this is the answer. So a half is equal to 0.5. Please, when you convert a half to a decimal, you get 0.5, and that is the very answer. Then we look at the common questions about fractions, having learned how to convert different fractions to others. Common questions about fractions. Number one says, write 5 equivalent fractions to a third. Write 5 equivalent fractions to a third. You must know, equivalent fractions are not types of fractions, but they are fractions that, when reduced, lead to that fraction in question, like a third. So other fractions, when reduced, they will be meaning a third, meaning will be equivalent to a third after reducing them or simplifying them. Now, how does one attain an equivalent fraction to a given constant fraction like a third? One reaches that when he multiplies both the numerator and the denominator by the same number, but maintaining that original fraction like a third. So we write a third, multiply. Now I've chosen to multiply by 2 because that's the first equivalent fraction. Times 2 times 2. Please write a third, multiply up and down by the same number. That is 1 times 2 and 3 times 2. Where 1 times 2 you get 2 and 3 times 2 you get 6. So the first equivalent fraction to a third is 2 out of 6. Now let's get the second equivalent fraction. You still maintain our third, then multiply by 3 by 3, up by 3 and by 3, times 3 times 3, where 1 times 3 you get 3, 3 times 3 you get 9. The second equivalent fraction to a third is 3 out of 9, or 3 nines. So straight as 3 nines or 3 out of 9. Then still write a third, multiply by 4 up and down. That is times 4 times 4, where 1 times 4 you get 4, and 3 times 4 you get 12, and then the other 4. The third equivalent fraction to a third is 4 out of 12. And now we go. Third again, multiply by 5 up and down. So times 5 times 5, that is 1 times 5 you get 5, and 3 times 5 you get 15. The fourth equivalent fraction to a third is 5 out of 15. That is 5/15. Then the fifth one, you multiply both sides, both numerator and denominator by 6 times 6 times 6, where 1 times 6 you get 6, and 3 times 6 you get 18. So the fifth is 6 out of 18. Now you pick them out and write them out. So the equivalent fractions to a third are 2 6, 3 9, 4 12, 5 15, and 6 18. Or read it normally, like in the lemon, you say 2 out of 6, comma, 3 out of 9, comma, 4 out of 12, comma, 5 out of 15, and 6 out of 18. Why are they equivalent to a third? Because when each of them is reduced, you get a third. For example, when you cancel here by 4, you get 1, by 4, you get 3, you get a third. By 3 once, by 3, you get 3, you get back a third. By 2 once, and by 2, 3. So each of them, when reduced, you get a third. That is what is termed as equivalent fractions. It's not a type of fractions, but they are fractions which lead to the original fraction when reduced. Here the original one is a third, and now they are equivalent fractions to a third. And that is all about equivalent fractions. And now we can look at another common question in fractions. Tells us reduce 4 out of 8 to its lowest terms. Reduce 4/8 to its lowest terms. Now, in other words, find the equivalent fraction to 4 out of 8. So we write 4 out of 8 and look at 4 as well as 8 as numerators and denominators, and ask ourselves which number divides both 4 and 8 without leaving a remainder. Of course it's 2, but there's a bigger one and a better one. It is a 4. Both 4 and 8 are divisible by 2 as well as 4. So we take the 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4, you get 2. So this 4 out of 8 is an equivalent fraction to a half. So write 1 out of 2, and that is the reduced style. So that's how we reduce any given fraction. So for any number that you find in that workbook where you take to reduce or simplify, please reduce by knowing the common divisor. So all in all, one must know multiplication tables. They are key to answering mathematics. So here, table 4 has got 4, and table 4 still has got 8. So say by 4 once, and by 4 you get 2. We are dividing by 4. You get 1 out of 2, which is written like that to mean a half. And now we see third example about common questions in fractions. Now this question tells you to arrange 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3.5, and 1 out of 2 in ascending order. Arrange 3/4, 2/3, and a half in ascending order. You must know the meaning of ascending. To ascend is to go up or climb. Meaning, you must know among these fractions which is the least and which is the greatest. How is that reached? You are going to use the other idea of LCM. Teacher taught you, or I taught you that is in the previous lesson. Find the LCM to the denominators, which are 4, 3, and 2. I said we find LCM by prime factorization. I remember in the previous lesson we did prime factorization. So we prime factorize. That is 4, 3, and 2. Meaning we use prime numbers. We use prime numbers to prime factorize. Now, what's the first prime number? Remember? Yes, it is a 2. So we divide by 2 in case any of these is divisible by 2. And in that case, 4 and 2 are each divisible by 2. 3 is not in agreement. Remember when we're finding LCM, that one is not in agreement, is written down. That's why it goes down here. It doesn't accept or allow the divisibility of 2. But these ones that allow, please divide them. 4 divided by 2, get a 2. And 2 divided by 2, you get a 1. If 3 goes down, it's not in line with the divisibility of 2. So we look at 2, 3, and 1. So if at all n is divisible by 2, and indeed it is like 2, we write 2 again and divide. Those that don't accept that 3 and 1 are written down. So that's why 3 comes down and 1 comes down, then we divide the 2. that is in acceptance. That's 2 divided by 2, we get a 1. Now, I've got 1, 3, and 1. You will see that 2 cannot divide any of these. The next prime number after 2, we say it's the 3. So 3 divides this 3, so it's written here. And then those that are not now in the divisibility of 3 are written down. So 1 goes down and this one goes down. Then we divide 3. 3 divided by 3 get a 1. So the moment you reach 1, 1, 1, 1 for every party, then you are fully prime factorized. Factorization is done, but remember the essence, all the importance, all the ambition, all the intention of prime factorizing here was to get the lowest common multiple called LCM. So we multiply these prime numbers that have come out. That's 2 times 2 times 3. That's what we have here. 2 times 2 times 3. Where 2 times 2, you get a 4. And now 4 times 3, get 12. So LCM is 12. Being LCM, or lowest common multiple, we are going to commonly multiply each of these fractions by 12. So we say 3 out of 4 times 12. Please times LCM we have got. So we say 4 divided by 4 once. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Remaining 3 times 3 get 9. So 3 quarters has got 9. And now we go to 2 out of 3 or 2 thirds. 2 out of 3 times 4. Sorry, times 12. We say by 3 once. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 get a 4. Remaining 2 times 4 you get 8. So 2 thirds has given rise to 8. And then we look at a half. A half times 12. We say 2 divided by 2 once. 12 divided by 2 gets 6. Remaining 1 times 6 you get 6. So a half has got 6. Now we embark on answering the question. They are saying arrange those in ascending order, meaning start from the least as you go up. I said to ascend is to go up. So we start from the least point to the highest point. So we look at the outcomes as in terms of whole numbers. Compare 9, 8, and 6 to see which one is the least. The first one is 6, it's the one you write first. The next one is 8, you write second, and then the third is automatically 9. This is the ascending order of the outcomes. But remember, we are arranging the fractions. Then ask yourself, which fraction brought 6 is a half? It is the one you write under half, because you are supposed to arrange the fractions themselves. Put a comma. Which fraction brought an 8? It is 2 out of 3, or 2 thirds. Write it under 8, and then comma. Finally, the fraction on both 9 is 3 quarters, or 3 out of 4. Please, this is the ascending order. The opposite of ascending order is descending order. I said the opposite of ascending order is descending order. So to descend is come down, go down. So go down, meaning you start from the highest point to the lowest. So, and it being descending, the answer will go the other way around. You will start with 9, 8, 6, then 3 quarters, 2 thirds, a half would be the last, because the least is the smallest. So here we start with the smallest or the least figure to the greatest. That's ascending. Ascending can also be called increasing order. Increasing order. So arrange in increasing order. So to increase is like add on, meaning add little. Now they want you add on, so I get more. So meaning you start from the smallest to the greatest. And now when you go descending, descending is also called reducing or decreasing order. So descending, decreasing, or reducing order, please you start with the 9 here. So 9, 8, 6, and then start with this fraction, this one. That one becomes last in that question. Then we look at the next question. You are told to add 1 3/4 plus 2 1/3. 1 3/4 plus 2 1/3. So we rewrite it, that's 1 3/4 plus 2 1/3. And then now we convert to an improper fraction like we did. 1 times 4 plus 3. 1 times 4 plus 3. 1 times 4 plus 3. Like that. So 1 times 4 is the 4 plus 3 gets 7. That's why I've got 7 out of 4. Then 2 times 3. You must notice the 6 plus 1 gets 7. 7 out of 3. This is now in proper form. Now, we are adding. We've got 2 denominators. That is 4 and 3. Now, what connects these two is what is called LCM. LCM is for these denominators, these numbers down. So, the LCM of 4 and 3 is 12. That is, if you have learned how to find LCM, is 12. So, we multiply each of these fractions by the 12. That's why we've got 7 out of 4 times 12 in brackets plus the same 7 out of 3 times 12 in brackets out of the LCM 12. This multiply each of the fractions by the 12, then out of the whole 12. And now start your division. 4 by 4 once, 12 by 4 is a 3. Remaining 7 times 3, which is a 21. In the next step, then by 3, 3 divided by 3 once, 12 divided by 3 get a 4. 7 times 4 you get 28. So we've got 21 plus 28 out of 12. Where 21 plus 28, when you add accurately, you get 49. 49 out of 12. Remember I said out of means divide by. It should be noted that in answers, so all answers in fractions must never be left as improper fraction. So you must never have 49 out of 12 and just go away thinking that the answer is correct. Why? This is an improper fraction. And it's widely known that an improper fraction makes an improper answer in mathematics. It's only allowed when you are getting the reciprocal and then square root to an improper fraction. But here, the rest of the answers must never be improper, meaning the upper number can never be left greater than this, the down one. Where the numerator is greater than the denominator, we divide. So 49 out of 12 means 49 divided by 12. So we divide 12 by 12 once, and 49 divided by 12, you get 4, remainder 1. So you get 4 and 1 out of 12. So the answer is 4 and a 12. 4 numbers, 1 out of 12. So whenever you see a mixed fraction, whenever you see an improper fraction, you convert it to improper, the mixed fraction. From improper to mixed, like we did, and then that will be called an answer that today. As we look at another common question about fractions, it reads, find the sum of a half and a third. Here, you look at the word sum, like we did in the operations on more numbers. We say the sum is the result after adding two numbers. In other words, find the sum of a half and a third, the same as add a half and a third. So you're supposed to add them. You say a half plus a third, where I've got two denominators, 2 and 3. We combine them, or we make them meet when we find LCM. So LCM of 2 and 3 is 6. So like we did the other way, multiply half by 6, a third by 6 out of the 6. So a half times 6 plus a third times 6 out of 6. So we say by 2 once, by 2, 3. By 3 once, by 3, 2. 1 times 3, you get 3. 1 times 2, you get 2. That's 3 plus 2 out of 6. You add well where 3 plus 2, you get a 5 out of 6. And that is the answer. All in all, one ought to have known the meaning of the word sum. Sum is the result after adding two numbers. So this is the sum. That is 5 out of 6. I said sum is the result after adding two or more numbers. Here, today, we've got two fractions to be added, whose sum is 5 out of 6. And then we look at the subtraction part. Subtract a third and minus a quarter. Subtract a third minus a quarter. So likewise, we've got two different denominators of 3 and 4, where we find the LCM of 3 and 4, which is a 12, And now multiply a third by 12 as well as a quarter by 12, then out of 12. So a third times 12 minus a quarter times 12 out of 12. Then cancel by 3 once. That is 12 divided by 3, you get 4. 4 by 4 once, and 12 divided by 4, you get 3. 1 times 4 is the 4, and 1 times 3 is the 3. You remain with 4 minus 3 out of 12, where 4 minus 3 is the 1 out of 12. So the answer is a 12th or 1 out of 12. It's read as a 12th or 1 out of 12. And that's all. All in all, the way we do the additions, the way you do subtraction, only that we have got here a minus sign of subtraction, the other one's a plus. So here, in addition, you put a plus sign of addition, and here a minus sign of subtraction operation, and do the needful. Here subtract, the other way add. So they are done the same way. As we look at the last example about subtraction, this time of mixed fractions, subtract 4 and a half minus 1 and a third. Subtract 4 and a half minus 1 and a third. So we come back to an improper fraction. We multiply 4 times 2 plus 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1, we get 9 out of 2. Then we go 3 times 1 is a 3, or 1 times 3 is a 3 plus 1. So you get a 4 out of 3. So the improper fraction that have come out are 4 out of 2 minus 4 out of 3. Then do it like the upper one, where we look at the 2 and 3 as denominators, whose LCM is 6. So the LCM of 2 and 3 is a 6. And now we multiply this by 6 out of 6. That's 9 out of 2 times 6 minus 4 out of 3 times 6 out of 6. So we say 2 by 2 once, and the 6 by 2 get a 3, and 3 by 3 once, and then 6 divided by 3 is a 2. Remain with 9 times 3, which is a 27, minus, in between here, 4 times 2 is an 8 out of 6. And now subtract 27 minus 8, you get 19. 19 out of 6. This is also improper fraction, which I said must not make a conclusive answer. So we divide 19 by 6, whereby 6 once, 19 divided by 6, you get 3, remainder 1. That's 3 on numbers and 1 out of 6 as the answer. 3 under 6 is the answer to that question. That's how we deal with fractions of that category. That is in the way you will then be able to answer questions all the way from page 100 to 106 of your workbook. Those 7 pages can then be covered by these examples. Look at the example, it will have a corresponding kind of work it will be answering. Please answer accordingly. I am teacher Katimbo Richard. For more information, please call this same teacher Katimbo on 0776 25 1655 or 072. I'm saying 07572 33066. I repeat, 07572 33066. Otherwise, that's the end of the lesson. Stay safe.